Greetings and hello. Philosophy has always been invaded by gynocentric anti-male bias. This is due to female worship and elevating the so-called virtues of women. The dynamic is spitting on men and praising women just for existing. This is because such philosophies were started by the same gynocentric women-worshipping people as so many other things. Their purpose is to elevate women while disparaging the man. First off, men are always looked down upon no matter where you go. For example, a man using his time to enjoy himself is viewed differently from a woman doing the same. This is because the man is expected to provide for the female. This is just like how women demand men work for them in society. The same dynamic is still present, except with a strawberry coating instead of a vanilla one. Therefore, men are always to blame in philosophy and spirituality, as the agency is placed on them by women who demand the provider gender roles. The woman is the primary beneficiary in such discourse, as it is meant to subjugate and guilt men into serving them. Philosophies can be pro-male, such as the ideas in the pro-male collective, but they are one out of many hundreds of millions. The rest are just carbon copies with slight variations that have gynocentrism at their root and provide little of value. This is not surprising, as many men have entrenched the mindset of getting a woman at the cost of their freedom. As a result, philosophy copies this mentality and it becomes entrenched as a core value, enabling male self-loathing and sacrifice, all while women benefit. It's not any better than modern therapy, as they are all variations of the same thing. Blame the man for problems that are not caused by him, and gaslight to the fullest. If men came together and forgot about women's demands, then many of these philosophies would crumble to the ground. Ever heard of what is called the divine feminine? It is the idea that women are higher and have a better nature than men. In other words, it is pure and utter female worship for nothing more than having a uterus. It is a reflection of how society views and treats men as beneath women. Women are elevated and praised for nothing, while men are demonized and attacked for being men. This is how society operates as well, since women have a natural contempt for men. They demand that men serve and give them privilege just to be around them. Friends do not do this, since they are there for one another's company and not to hoard resources and be pampered. Men want to be with women, while women do not want anything to do with them. So naturally, these dynamics would be reflected in our stories and philosophies that we make up. Even though it is not explicitly stated that way, as very few men want to risk losing their status in front of women to defend other men, that is the clear dynamic present in spirituality as well. The feminine, or women, is praised, while the masculine, or men as a whole, have to eternally slave away to be in the presence of the feminine. It is a never-ending cycle that gynocentric men cling on to in hopes of finding a partner that will tolerate them more than the former. Hopeless is the word to describe it, unless men who know the dynamics between men and women produce actually insightful material. Anything that uplifts men is looked down upon, so philosophy and spirituality follows the same trend. The provider role is emphasized everywhere for men, due to the women's demands of gender roles. The purpose of this is to keep control of men and as a result accelerate female privilege. This is universally apparent where women have an in-group bias, whereas men do not. This is due to women not liking the male sex, but liking and wanting to be around other women. The cope that women hate each other more than they hate men is just that, a cope. If it were actually true, women would be the ones with an out-group bias favoring men, not women. And how are women able to come together if this is correct, since a reasonable person would expect them to be fighting tooth and nail? You can't, because it does not work, as it is not that way in reality. Truth is that all copes like this, as well as philosophy, are meant to trap and confuse men into pandering to women. So the idea of the divine feminine is to spit on the male sex. It is sending a message that women are superior to men, all while doing nothing. It is gynocentrism in a nutshell, and is as anti-male as you can possibly get. So spirituality is clearly not a pro-male safe haven with enlightened ideas. Instead, it is a copy and paste of the same misandric attitudes that society displays on a whole, which attack and disenfranchise men for their birth sex. It is an extension of the roles that women force onto men, mainly serve and pamper women. Except headed by self-proclaimed male gurus who want to gain status to attract the opposite sex. Nothing new is brought to the discussion except 1,000 separate ways to take utility from men and pamper women. Any pro-male man would instantly discard 99% of philosophies because they are anti-male trash. They do nothing but ingrain self-loathing in men and whip them into thinking they are lesser than their female counterparts. It is only a circle jerk of low-status men who are insecure about their position and status to bribe women. They then form these groups based off of such ingrained misandry, where other self-loathing men join in, as well as women to receive coddling. This is the same for all religions, philosophies, and so-called spiritual groups. It is reiterated garbage with a new label slapped on, no different than the number in the center of the recycle sign on plastic products. In short, none of these benefit men, and are only copes to keep the man trapped providing for women. These can be compared with governments which are all gynocentric. They are institutions to pamper and coddle women, and create unfair laws to enforce such practices. While in spirituality and philosophy, men are also unfairly treated by bigoted beliefs, and told they are evil or any other number of names, if they do not pander to women. The engine behind both is gynocentrism and women worship. These have to go together with male oppression and disenfranchisement, or else women would not be elevated and pampered as they are. An actual pro-male philosophy would tell men that they are worthy instead of pounding them with self-hatred. It would tell them that they are worthy from birth and deserve to be treated that way. It would say that there are no other requirements but to love yourself and appreciate your time. In other words, there would be no elevating women and no bashing on men. This is the exact opposite of the 99% of philosophies, because it does not suit women's interest in men that pamper them. The way these philosophies and spiritualities are successful is that they take an already spoken gynocentric norm and repackage it. They make it seem more appealing by having the decoy be spiritual, instead of the material status chase so many men are engaged in. This makes it a niche and thus widens the appeal to target a larger audience in total. It makes sense because it is all gynocentrism, and thus, gynocentrism is the same everywhere, even though it may wear a different label. The spreading of anti-male ideas under the package of a spiritual awakening is no different than the lie that a man will forever be content with a wife after sacrificing himself by working long hours. The main point that these philosophies sell to men is, quote, self-improvement. This self-improvement to make themselves more worthy of the feminine, which is women. The man has to sacrifice his desires and wants to try to go after a woman, which shows that he is capable of putting himself last to pamper her. It is another version of male sacrifice which is espoused by trad cons demanding men be sent to war to bribe women. So, New Agers and tradcons are the same and espouse the same male worthlessness narrative. So 99% of philosophies and spiritualities for men are just tradcons who want to up their status to women. The women in these philosophies are there to be pampered and coddled like other women in society. They are still being privileged and worshipped, just under a different setting. Men have an out-group bias, so these philosophies appeal to them due to their inner self-loathing instilled by their mothers. In truth, men do not need to fill a void, but instead eliminate the self-loathing reaper looming over them every second of their lives.